For probably the third or fourth time on the show, we are pleased to welcome Red Sox farm director Brian Abraham. We just said before we started rolling, you are usually a guest on a rival podcast about something involving a sport and it being boring or not, but we appreciate you joining the Fenway Rundown today. Obviously, a lot of hot topics in the minor league for the Red Sox, so appreciate you taking some time.
Well, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
So we will start with the name that is on everybody's mind and has been for a few weeks, and that is Roman Anthony. First question is about not the promotion timeline, but don't you worry, we'll get there, and more about just where he stands with this latest injury after coming out of the game Friday night.
Yeah, I had X-rays. They were negative, which is great news. Felt a lot better yesterday. I know he's doing some work today at the park. I'm actually heading there shortly, but gonna run the base to see how he feels. And the hope is potentially he's in the lineup in the next couple days. But feeling a lot better. Very positive news. Whenever you fall off the top of your foot, a lot of small bones in there. You never know, but very optimistic about him playing in games in the very near future.
I think I saw maybe Jen McCaffrey write that you're not considering the IL for him. That's still the case.
Correct. Yep.
Brian, at this point, and I know you get bombarded and others in player development in the front office and baseball ops do too. Both Roman and Marcelo Mayer are tearing it up on the international league level. You have to take a more measured, sober approach here. The fans and media get all worked up about the production and wonder when the call-ups are going to come. But from a more objective standpoint, what is it that you are looking for from each of those as you evaluate their progress and determine when it is time to promote them to the big league roster?
Yeah, I think organizationally we have some different things that we look at in terms of how our players progress throughout our minor league system and ultimately reach the big league level, skills and numbers that will scale to success at the highest level. So whether it be walk rate, strikeout rate, barrel rate, those, very basic things that matter a lot in terms of the ability to produce at no matter what level you're at. So I think for Roman and Marcelo, when you talk about guys that are so close to reaching that top level, it's going to be a lot more refined, a lot more intimate and detailed into the areas that they can improve upon. I think for Roman, you've seen a guy who's hit the ball hard all over the ballpark, who's played solid defense. I think we'd love to see him pull the ball in the air more for a little bit more damage. He certainly has the ability to drive the ball to all fields. We've seen him do that this year, but when he's the most impactful, he's able to get the ball out front and really drive the baseball consistently. I think he and actually even Marcelo at times they hit the ball so hard when they hit it into the ground, it's really not doing any benefit to anyone. So I think both of those guys when they really attacking the baseball, elevating the baseball for extra bases, for impact. Those are the things we're looking for on the offensive side. I think both seeing left-handed pitchers more, I think, is a really important thing at the level they're playing at. And then for Marcelo, continue to focus on his ability to have solid swing decisions. He's done an amazing job of that this year, impacting the baseball in the strike zone, laying off pitches on the edges and off the plate. But again, both have done an incredibly good job. It's the little things that they can take into an at bat to a game day in and day out, and it's balancing what they're currently doing, obviously, with the need at the major league level, whether that be a roster spot, whether that be the positions that are available. But it's I think the goal for us to really have them stay where their feet are. I know that's kind of a cliche term that is used probably by multiple farm directors on a daily basis, but the reality is they need to focus on their work, on their routine, continue to get better, continue to work in their training on the defensive side, offensive side, and base running side, so that when their name is called, they're going to be as prepared as they can be.
You referenced the other half of the equation here, and that is these things do not happen in a vacuum. Marcelo and Roman could, hit 3 home runs a game for the next week, and it wouldn't change the fact that you need to have a spot for them on the major league active roster to play. Currently, it doesn't seem like that's the case. When you look at particularly, the improved play in the last couple of weeks with Ceddanne and Rafaela in center, all three outfielders playing well. Trevor Story having a bounce back year at short, Marcelo's position. So I know this is probably out of your area of expertise and bailiwick, if you will, and more in the lap of Craig Breslow and others in baseball ops. But there's the other half here, right? Isn't and that's finding an opportunity for them at the big league level. Is that kind of awkward? Because right now it would seem that you need either a downturn in performance by someone or an injury to create that opening for either one of them.
I don't think it's awkward. I think you want to have a lot of really good players. That's a really good thing. You need to have depth. You need to have players that are reliable and could, if their name is called, can go up and perform at the highest level, similar to someone who was maybe there previously. So on in my space and in my role in the development side's role, like we can only prepare our players to be the best versions of themselves while they're with us. And again, when that opportunity arises, we hope that they're prepared for any situation, whether that be as a shortstop, as a third baseman, as a left fielder, as a center fielder, hitting at the top of the order, hitting at the bottom of the order, pinch hitting, pinch running, all different scenarios that may come up. And I'd much rather be talking about having too many good players than not enough. And I don't want to say things will take care of themselves, but as long as we're focusing on the players continuing to improve at the AAA level, at all of our levels, we are going to put them in an opportunity to have success when the time is right.
I think I'm curious about this. I know fans definitely are, but just the behind the scenes of these types of conversations. Like, do you go into the season with a target date circled for, Campbell, Mayer, for Anthony, some other guys? Do you go into it with like, oh, we're gonna have a meeting every week to see, and we're gonna vote on are they ready? Like, what are the logistics of those types of decisions actually like?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a timeline or an exact date.
No, no tribal council.
No, no. I think the reality is like, hey, these kids, they're human beings, they're kids. They want to be in the big leagues. I think that is just the reality. And to go in there for me to go into Worcester and not expect Marcel to want to get called up to the big leagues, I think is unfair of me,
Hmm.
unfair of our front office to think that, or Roman, or to think like they're not looking at the big league roster and seeing guys perform really well or poorly and say, hey, I could be doing that as well. I think we want that competitiveness. We want guys to be up there. I mean, who doesn't want to be in the big leagues? But I think it's balancing that with continuing to do the work that they're doing in Worcester, and continuing to get better, so they are prepared when, again, when that time is right. I don't know when it's going to be. They don't know when it's going to be. There's a lot of different things that can happen, that could lead to that. But worrying about things they can't control, I think, is a real big focus. And Trace and our AAA staff does such an amazing job of really allowing these guys to improve on a daily basis and focusing on what they need to do to get better. Because I think, despite them each being really good players, and I think you could say the same thing about a lot of our big league players, there's still a lot of improvements to be made. Not all these guys are Hall of Famers. Not all these guys are all stars. Whether it be improving their range, whether it be improving their bat speed, their ability to impact the baseball, swing decisions. There's so many different things that these guys can work on and improve upon, so that they are better and are able to have that success when they get up there. So yeah, I mean, listen, they're people. They want to be in the big leagues. I get it. They want to have long careers in Boston. We want them to do that as well. So I think just being realistic and understanding that they're human beings are going to want that, and trying to be as reasonable as we can. I feel like I tend to be the bad guy, is the one who seems like I might be holding them back, or not wanting them to be in the big leagues. I certainly do. We all certainly do. But again, it's balancing the roster. It's balancing needs. It's balancing when they're ultimately will be ready, so that transition can happen seamlessly.
And not just in these cases, but in basically everyone for since this has been the case. Obviously, the question of service time and the extra year all comes into it. Is that a factor you guys just have to weigh based on the landscape of baseball?
I mean, to say there are a lot of different conversations and a lot of different things that come into play when we're having these conversations and discussions. At the end of the day, I think we need to put the player first, and if we put our thoughts and ideas and our decisions based on what is best for each individual player, I think the rest will take care of itself, and then the right decisions will be made. There's a lot that happens, a lot of different conversations behind the scenes that maybe people aren't aware of, or don't care about, or really do care about. But again, I think if we're putting the players first, their development first, their success first, that the organization is going to have a lot of success in the long run.
Brian, I think there's sort of been a change in the industry in the last maybe 10 or 15 years where AAA has become kind of half finishing school and half taxi squad, right? You got guys with major league experience there as depth pieces, guys that have bounced around in a number of different organizations. Think of somebody like Cam Boozer, who spent some time at AAA and had been in a handful of organizations and was into his 30s before he made his major league debut. This is a little different where, you've got your top prospects at AAA. What changes about that, given how, AAA has become more of a reserved roster spot rather than a top prospect finishing area? How does that change Chad Tracy's job or your job?
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with the environment of AAA. I'd like to think that for us, we've transitioned into making sure that AAA is the same as it would be the complex in terms of the training that's happening, the challenging of players in all different facets of the game, and preparing them for that next step, whether it be from the complex to Salem, from Portland to Worcester, or Worcester to the big league. So I think if we're pushing our players to compete and improve, having them fail and struggle so they can get better wherever they are. I think that's really important. That goes for Marcelo, that goes for Roman, that goes for Christian, and that goes for Nate Eaton, Trace Thompson, Yasmani Grandal, preparing these guys so they can be better versions of themselves. Because there is a reason why they're in AAA. That is a real thing. They are. There's a balance of guys that are in the big leagues helping the big league team for particular reasons, and there's a reason why some of the guys in AAA are in AAA. So pushing them to get better in all the facets, I think is really important. So Trace and the rest of the staff, continuing to create those challenging environments to create skills that scale that can be improved upon on a daily basis down there, not just kind of throwing your gloves out there and say, hey, when the time is right, you'll be up there. Like, no, let's get better. Let's work our butts off every day. Let's prepare for the night ahead. But also let's continue to be ready when the time is called. So again, it's a balancing of being ready for that particular night or that particular week if there is a call up, but also preparing, each player for the long-term success that they need to have. So our staff does such an amazing job, and I think the organization, our department, and just development overall, I think has changed in that sense where AAA isn't just, hey, let's wait and see when guys are going to be called up. It's let's get better because there's room for growth and let's push these guys to get better. You're not a finished product. There's a reason, again, why you're a minor league free agent. You signed with us to be in AAA. So, Nate Eaton is a great example, a guy who added bat speed this offseason because he came to spring training earlier. There's some meat in the bone there for him to get better. So when he does get that call up to the big leagues, he has more opportunity to have that sustained success he's looking for. So our staff does an amazing job of pushing these guys, challenging these guys, and not being just happy with the players they are and pushing them to the players that they can be.
You talked so much about we've talked so much about Roman, but Marcelo obviously just won the International League Player of the Week honors. He had an amazing spring training with him, a guy who has not been in AAA before. This stretch here, what have you seen? And I think Alex Cora called him the forgotten one of the three in spring training because of the injuries. But with him, is it just a matter of health? And when he's healthy, there's going to be production there.
I know we haven't forgotten about him. He's one of
Right.
our premier players, one of my favorite players to watch. Just the fluidness in the field, the sweet swing, the power, the ability to impact the game in so many different ways. Certainly health has played a factor. I don't think he'd shy away from that. I don't think I'd shy away from that. When he's been healthy, though, he's been an incredible player. He's been one of the best players in all of baseball and one that I know is going to be able to impact the major league roster, major league club, and major league games for a long time. But I think we've seen a confidence, a trust in himself. I don't want to say cockiness, but just a known trust in himself to be one of the best players on the field, no matter who's out there. And I think that is unique amongst, in a really good way, a lot of our top players. They all kind of have a little bit of that swagger, that they know whoever they're facing at the plate, whatever balls hit to them, they're going to make the play, they're going to hit the ball hard, and they're going to have success. So Marcelo to be able to play AAA at the highest level against other prospects, other ex-big leaguers or guys that are trying to get to the big leagues and have the success he's had, I think has been a big time confidence boost. Not that he didn't know he could do it, but he hadn't done it. So I think there's always an unknown there. So he's been phenomenal. He's worked really, really hard. That's always been a huge piece of his game. His hard work ethic. He put on a lot of really good weight this offseason. Came into camp probably the best spot he has been physically in his career, and he's produced because of it. So I know he certainly wants to get that opportunity, and I know he feels he's earned the right to, and it's going to happen. But again, I think staying where his feet are, and really continuing to focus on the day to day will allow the success to eventually kind of come out at the highest level.
What's the dynamic, Brian, like between Marcelo and Roman? When Kyle Teal was still in the organization, they were famously referred to as the Big Three, and we know there was almost some friendly competition about who was going to get to the big leagues first. Teal's obviously not here anymore. He was sort of replaced in spring training by Christian, who made the opening day roster. But with these two in particular, do they push each other? Is there a little I'm going to get there before you do in a good way? What's the relationship like between the two and the sort of inherent competitiveness that exists between them?
Yeah, I think there's a natural, they're both incredibly competitive players. They both want to have a ton of success. I also think they're really good friends. And I think sometimes as people from the outside, all of us from afar, we watch these sports teams, we just assume everyone on a team is best buddies and they're all getting along. And you guys certainly know you go into a clubhouse, like not everyone is friends with each other. They're teammates, they spend a lot of time with each other, and you hope that they mesh and gel well, and hopefully that leads to success. But not everyone's best buddies. Not everyone is going leaving the park, going to grab dinner, playing video games, whatever these guys do. But Roman and Marcelo are, from everything I can tell, from everything they say and everything I see, are really close friends. And quite honestly, I'd say, brother like. They compete, they push each other, they goof around with each other, make fun of each other. It's a really cool thing to see as they've come up. And Marcelo was obviously here a year ahead, but their paths have crossed over a significant amount of time the past few years. And while I don't think it's like I'm gonna get there before you, I think there is a let's be really good together. Let's be really good for in Boston together. Let's win a lot of championships in Boston together, and let's have a lot of fun doing it. And I think that's something I really appreciate. You can see it in the Worcester clubhouse when you have that youth, that energy, that wanting to be great. It falls around the clubhouse, and the last couple of years we've had that in Worcester. And Sean, as you mentioned, Worcester or AAA can be a tough place at times because there's a lot of guys that don't want to be there. And I think making sure that environment is one where guys do want to be there and can get better, and compete with each other. They have been a big piece of that. It's been really fun to be around.
We focus so much on the position players because you have the top prospect in the game in Roman and a top 10 or top 20 prospect in the game in Meyer. But the pitching side of the organization has really come a long way in the last, say, 18 months. We're seeing guys like Peyton Tolley and Connolly Early and Brandon Clark start to emerge at the high A and double A level. What's behind that? And give us a little quick scouting report on some of the arms that have really impressed you through the first month of the season.
Yeah, it starts with Brez coming in and having an idea of what he sees from a pitching infrastructure. Hiring Bales obviously, and then Justin Willard kind of running our pitching department. He oversees the major league and minor league side, so it allows for a lot of consistency and continuity throughout the system. So again, similar to on the hitting side, having a very strong understanding of what guys are gaming toward, what they're working toward, how they can improve, and how we are going to evaluate them, providing them with clear plans and objective information on how they can improve and a plan to do so. It's great to say, hey, we want you to do this, but how do I actually do that? Like that, I think to me has been a significant change over the past couple of years is providing a plan, an action plan with very clear goals for each player and improving upon them. Obviously, velo is something that we valued a ton or that we do value a lot. And I think, the three guys you mentioned to me have all made significant gains in those spaces. Connolly Early came in as a lefty out of University of Virginia, throwing in the low 90s. He's up to 97 now with a complete arsenal of secondaries that can get hitters out of the strike zone. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a left-handed starter that was throwing 92, 93 to throw 97. That's a significant change. That not only helps fastball velo, but that helps your secondaries play up and allows for you to have a lot of success in the strike zone, which is something we value incredibly. Nasty stuff in the zone, as Justin Willer would say, and our pitching group would say. Payne Tolley drafted last year, big bodied, really unique fastball with a lot of extension. again, a guy with a fastball that is really tough to hit, but didn't have the velo that we probably would have liked. Spent the entire offseason in Fort Myers, continued to add good weight, add more athleticism. That has ticked up. Really continued to focus on throwing his secondaries more consistently, and that's why we pushed him to Greenville. One of the best things about development and player development in the minor leagues is that you can have guys do some things that maybe they wouldn't do at the big league level because winning is not the priority. Getting better is allowing for them to have the success in Double A, Triple A in the big league. So pushing Peyton to throw his secondaries more consistently has been a major factor. And then Brandon Clark, we just promoted to Greenville. Again, another guy with a huge fastball that had ticked up even in spring training. Another guy who's added a lot of really good weight. His secondaries, the biggest thing for him was getting him in the strike zone. In the three starts that he had in Salem, dominated the strike zone, was able to get swing and miss on pitches to the edge and off when he was ahead in the count, and just was really overpowering. So wanted to give him that next challenge in Greenville. So overall, there's a ton of excitement. Guys are gradually improving throughout the season, and I think that's another thing that about development that has changed, or we've really tried to make it change. The off season is obviously incredibly important. It's a chance to make significant gains with your body, weight, strength, but the season is a chance to improve as well. Obviously, we want guys to have success, but the main goal is to improve, whether it be an arsenal, whether that be fastball velo, whether it be bat speed, whether it be ball flight. Those things can improve during the season, and making sure that our training encompasses that to make sure that they do has been a major focus on both sides of the baseball. And Justin Willard and the pitching group has done an incredible job of doing so.
Brian, from here, it seems like Brandon Clark is the hype train guy right now. I remember when Campbell first started kind of jumping onto into everybody's focus early last year. It feels like Clark is doing that on the pitching side. Is he the main kind of helium guy you're seeing in the system right now, or is there maybe one or two other guys that stand out from spring training in the first month in your head?
Yeah, I think the three guys Sean mentioned are three guys that to me have really shot up the ranks, I guess. For us, obviously value each of them, but to me, when the skills that these guys have kind of scale to the major league level, velocity being one on the pitching side, and then the ability to impact the baseball, hitting the ball hard like Christian really did on the offensive side. Those are the things I think that really excite us. On the offensive side, I think of Nelly Taylor as a guy who's really had a strong start to the season, has a ton of athleticism, has spent the last two off seasons in Fort Myers, has put on about 40 pounds, was our defensive player of the year last year. And in Greenville this year, and a guy who can do everything incredibly well. So I think whenever you're looking at players that have the skills that will allow for major league success, those are guys we get really excited about. And then it's working on the periphery areas and the supplementary areas that help refine their game to allow that success. But I think the three pitchers that Sean mentioned, and then Nelly Taylor, Franklin Arias being another one, plus defender, has continued to get stronger, hit the ball hard. A guy who we also just promoted to Greenville. All really exciting. And I think one of the other things that's really exciting about each of these guys is that they have a lot of talent, they have a lot of ability, but there's still a lot of room for growth. I think of Christian Campbell and how good of a season he's had to start the year, but I also think like there's still a lot more there. I don't know if he really knows where the ceiling is. I don't know if we really know where the ceiling is. So he continually and constantly improves on a daily basis as he gets to know the league, as he gets to know himself. And I think that's the best thing about these guys that I just mentioned. There's room for growth, there's room for improvement, and then it's really I think kind of again refining some of the smaller areas for them to be complete players.
When you look at Campbell, is that your? I know there's probably a lot now, but is that like your or getting to be your favorite player development success story yet?
It's hard not to be as it stands right now, making the team out of camp. The meteoric rise, I guess, happening so quick. A guy who, our amateur department did such an amazing job of finding a guy who we felt like we could develop, had some skills that we felt like we could work off of and improve upon. And then just the player, just Christian himself, like really buying in and being open to making adjustments and challenging himself. And what people don't see is the struggles that he had or the inconsistency that he had in the cage or in games at times where, it wasn't always, driving the ball to all fields and hitting the ball as hard as he did and playing every position in the field really well. Like there were errors, there were swings and misses, there were broken bats and thrown bats, which he continues to do. But to see where he came from to where he is now, I think is certainly, I think for the development side and has been really fun to watch. And just again, our amateur side, our international side, our acquisition side gets great kids. And I know that some of the people might not care about, but I have an 11-year-old son to be able to root for players that you want to root for, to good people, good Red Sox people. Like I want the organization to be one where people can look at our players being really good baseball players, really good people that care about winning the community, each other. And I think those are the teams that we remember the most when you look back in baseball history, Red Sox history. It's the teams that you have an emotional feel to, emotional connection to because of the people that are on those teams that I think brings out the best in all of us. And I think we're lucky enough to have a lot of young players and players on our major league club that do that.
Brian, in a shocking development, another one of your highest uh, maturing players and guy that's kind of rocketing up the charts is a shortstop. That's Franklin Arias. He got promoted earlier this week. Give us a little updated scouting report on him. You guys have had so many middle infielders in the system in the top 10 between, obviously Marcelo, Lugo, Romero, on and on. And now an international free agent, Franklin Arias. Where is he?
Yeah, I think foundationally, just he has a lot of things that he does really well. He plays solid defense. He's consistent. He puts the bat in the ball. He has really good swing decisions. That's just I think the foundation of who he is, and then it's been getting stronger. It's been adding bat speed. It's been adding range, and that comes with the weight he's put on. He's put on a lot of really good weight. It's been a focus of his, continuing to eat more, continuing to get bigger and stronger, and allowing that range to play up, allowing that bat speed to play up where he can impact the baseball. So a guy that does a lot of things really, really well. He runs the bases well, can steal bags, go first to third. Um, Again, I think a complete player. That the sky is really the limit for this kid. Very mature for his age. Still a teenager. Incredibly smart and intelligent. One that is able to make adjustments and make changes to things that he needs to and takes information on really well, which can be difficult coming from a different country with a lot of, we're very data driven. We use a lot of information. Certainly, there is a big education piece to that. It starts all the way down at the academy, but there are different levels of learning for each player. But Franklin has caught on really quick, understands what he's trying to improve upon and what is going to allow him to have that success that he wants. That's again hitting the ball hard, really good range, converting outs, and he's done those things at a consistent rate. So excited to see what he can do to Greenville. But I think consistency to me is what I think about when I think about Franklin. He does something different every game to help the team win, but also continue to improve. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to do in high A.
Brian, we're going to try to have you on every week to ask you, is this the week for Roman? Is this the week for Roman? And I'm sure you'll be sick of that very, very fast. But that's Brian Abraham, Senior Director of Player Development for the Red Sox. We very much appreciate the time as always. And as Sean's told you in the past, I think the one time you did an episode with Sean when I was off is like our highest rated episode ever. So it's a high bar to
Draw
clear.
your own conclusions.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that was because of me or because you
I,
weren't
I,
on.
half you and half the absence of Cotillo.
Yeah. These things don't happen in a vacuum either. So thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.